Whew. Good day, people. Irene Ratliff. My lighting is not also great, but of course we'll get there. I just wanted to, early on, I wanted to have a conversation that was related to some videos and stuff that I was listening to and my efforts in regards to relationships. So the videos, I'm listening to them, I'm just like, wow, for this to be this a stream of support, I just thought it was somewhat negative, the conveyance and all the other kind of thing. And there's some other comments that were made that was talking about the um, African, American, European, Asian, Indian. Boy, it was just going all over the place. So I wanted to kind of share with you my views in regards to I don't want to use the word, well, genes. When we start looking at genes, I know that I had did a video on human rights as it related to colorism. Okay, well, really, I had talked about appearance. Okay, so there's a lot of information in regards to how we have been exposed or just that experience talking about human rights. Okay, not only human rights, but then how relationships, or just say the acceptance of men and women who have chosen to have interracial relationships, people who have said, well, listen, my family, they're maybe Indian, they may be European, they may be white, they may be African, they may be Asian, and so on and so forth. The thing is, readily, what I explain to people is, look at, here it is, this window. Let's look at it the other way around. You view everything as black. We do have black Asians, we do have black Europeans, we do have black Africans. Well, before we even said black, we already just thought that Africans were black. However, there was a lot of transitions that was going on in the northern part of Africa, and we read about apartheid in South Africa. So readily today, when we say Africa, we are saying, there's that kind of that wording, black or white. Okay. um, the other thing is that we do have black people who are in Latin America and the Caribbean. Matter of fact, growing up, when we said West Indians, we knew that here it is, it was black. It wasn't that conversation of being mixed or mestizos. And I chose to use the word mestizo, opposed to the saying, okay, mixed or whatever, same thing, but the thing is mestizos. So you'll understand when I say mestizos, it could be any one of the groups in the conversation of black people. Now, the thing is that we've had conversations that were relative to gentrifications and things of that nature, okay? So now when we begin to look at or listen to Dr. Cress Wessling, what she was trying to explain to us was really just that kind of pyramid or that structure that was focused on racism, but it was in the brown. Okay? Now, for somebody else, for Ariel to tell me that yet we didn't go through, here it is, an experience or understanding or a miseducation about racism or colorism would be false. When I say Ariel, I mean that here it is, people have guided us, what we would call the manna. Matter of fact, if you understand Egyptology, you will see here it is manna. Okay? So, this is the thing. This is be frank and straight. If people are of another color, and that's the thing, two black people can make an albino child. They also can make brown children, white children, tan children, beige children, brown children. I think I said that, and black children. The thing is that if we're supported, we are supportive. I think as black people, we have been supportive of many black people's choices and other races to say, okay, well, listen, their interest is that love, and that love may be outside of their own, let's say, color. But this, boy, this is a lot. Matter of fact, it's just kind of, I'm like, "Ugh," I'm going to just make sure that I kind of have points. I did not write any notes. I don't have any notes to refer to. I did not write it down. I have it written down, but not for me to go through, those pages. I'm in the dark. But what it is that when we look at um, how maybe people may have used that, I'm like, well, if everybody's listening to that and they're having their support, then if you're talking about all that light and all that match, then that means that we have been ostracized, meaning black people. If we want to say, well, listen, we're protecting you or whatever, listen, okay, I hear you, but the thing is that when other people are making references to black people, then we're the ones who probably are not benefiting outside of somebody saying, well, then you on the bottom. Is this making any sense? So we already know that if we're looking at people who say they're mixed, and if you look at a black person who is with a white person, they make 9 out of 10. They may make a white baby. Okay, the child, once a black man decides to, for real, literally, we do have black people who are white. Now, I don't know readily if we were looking at, here it is, the different colors of black, or people who said that they're black and they be white people, and we know we just have white children. But no, literally, we really do have black people, dark skinned people, who make white children with white people. Then the other thing is that when you look at brown, these some of these mestizos are not the same mestizos from when I was growing up. A lot of them have been, a lot of the people may have come through from Europe. No, seriously. We have a lot of people who speak languages all over the world, and they may even take on the language, and languages, cultures, those things people can study. Okay, so if you're looking at someone who is, say, people who are mestizos, and I'm talking about brown people, commonly known as Latin people from Latin America. And then I think that's kind of unfair when I say Latin America, as if the whole entire country is with white people. No, because there's black people who are there, and you see that there are black people who are mixed. The same thing with even the Horn of Africa. It's just unbelievable how the demographics of people have changed. But listen, this is the thing. There was also a lot of war that was going on. Now, if you start talking about replacing people, and then you saying, okay, well, listen, these amount of black people wow, it's just like, okay, well, then those same dark people are not there. That's a whole nother color of people. You understand where I'm coming from? So, looking at it, you could look at the black and white thing again. The people who mix in with the mestizos, their children, they're mestizos. The children who are born by someone who's white, they're white. Matter of fact, even from looking at their mother, they're growing up into, here it is, an environment that may have been taught in regards to their culture or their traditions. But to ultimately just say, okay, well, listen, people who are living in poverty, they behave this way, would be incorrect. The next thing, too, if you're looking, because at first I had an argument about Asian people, but then the thing is that there was a lot of Asian people who were mixed in with white. And we have a lot of different people who do use sperm banks, or the sperm banks was used to populate the earth. And we saw, I have made a lot of comments on this, but I'm not going to say the name and stuff right now. But if you have a group of people who have used in their sperm, and they're saying, okay, well, listen, their story will be, here it is, a black person, and let's just say, seriously, if you have people who are using sperm to populate a population, and they're doing it and saying, okay, well, listen, we're using surrogate mothers, and then the children are born and they're white, or they're mixed, or something. I mean, not mixed, but they're white, or they're brown. They're not black, and yet here it is, the mom and them were dark skinned people. You understand? So you have these people who will go round and around. Well, listen, again, that conversation about people who are saying, well, listen, I am black. I have people who are relatives of black. Now, when you start saying black, it's like, okay, are you talking about light skin, dark skin? Are you talking about mix? And then I think it's incorrect that we have accepted to say that white people are black. Now, to say that yet white people or people who are mixed or mestizos, it seems more correct. I mean, I'm just being frank and straight. When we start looking at all the benefits and resources that would be readily available to us, it's not there. One black person and one brown person, listen, they make a brown baby. I actually wrote down some different things because what's been happening for in that pool is that it's not so much about me accepting here it is one thing or the other, but it's for somebody to put something in my face to sit there and say, well, listen, um, well, here it is. You had this. You had sex with this man, and you have a tan baby. Okay, well, here it is. You've been with this man, and you have a light skinned baby. And I said, okay, well, then what is the problem? If they're praising here it is white woman or light skinned woman, you know, to have a black man and then make a baby, it was coming off as if me being a black woman and then me having white children or light-skinned children as if they wanted to make me feel uncomfortable about motherhood. Now that's a problem. Why would you want me to feel uncomfortable about me being a mother to hear this all of those children? Yes, I have white children, I have light-skinned children, and I have brown children. I do. But for us to ignore those simple facts that if that radio or here it is or that we listening and all that, and then they want to explain to us about here it is all that matching, then at that point me looking at myself as one person, the identity of me as one person is just that. That means that here it is, that yearning. And I ain't gonna fib you, I was just like thinking, looking at history. And that conversation about, how women been robbed, that woman been raped, that woman, I said, Lord have mercy. If these people are acting like this towards, here it is me, a dark-skinned woman, then what woman were they talking about? You understand where I'm coming from? What woman was they talking about if I'm being mistreated and they want to be like, they want to accept that, and then they want to sit there and say that they wanted a light-skinned girl, a mestizo girl, or a white woman? So at that point, it was like, oh no, give me my baby. Well, that story right there, I ain't gonna fib to you. I was like kind of looking at here it is some of our women, and I'm like, why aren't we really with our children? Or why does it seem so complex? Or here it is, our love for one another, it seems so complicated. My daughter said, oh, we're in the skinny. I said, Lord have mercy. All that skinny went somewhere else. Now we were talking about here it is, Oregon. But me being here it is the representation of me, Irene Ratliff, me. Then it would be, well, one moment, you're my baby and I love you, and it's just like that. However, the thing is that I just have a collective effort and energy to let you know, not about here it is with black people and what we have experienced and what we have gone through, but then I think that here it is what stands corrected when we start talking about POW and MIA. That means that we may have people readily working on certain things, but they have looked at here it is that view of separatism and segregation and being here it is that branch that fallen off that tree. Then when we start looking at here it is our successes and our failures, I will go to, matter of fact, not today. Matter of fact, I don't even want to speak that into existence, but I don't want us to be for real behind blind doors about some of those theories, okay? Oh, Lord have mercy. About our own and our this and our that. Ooh-wee. I'm going to let you know right now, some of those theories are thick. And when we start talking about security and stuff like that, it's that question. It's not so much about me liking you, but whenever you want to tell me that here it is, you want to bring in somebody who's mixed to talk to white people, then I feel at that point that you have something to do with my appearance, or that you played into here it is the human rights ball. Oh, here it is that N card. You used to hear the N, the N, the N. And I would tell people for real with a bullhorn, N has value. Literally. It is a math equation. And that math equation, it deals with the Arthur. Now, oh, Irene, well, here it is. We're part of the rainbow. Which rainbow? Yes, I understand, honey, from the Onyx Rock. I said, yes, we are Grandian people. Oh, well, here it is. These people here, this. I was like, I understand all of that. See, we come up, we come down. And I said, well, I think that's unfair. The reason why it's unfair is because something is suggesting that we as black people are experiencing something, and yet here it is readily wanting to care for ourselves, that we're going through so many different channels to talk about racism, or to talk about, here it is, your match kind. Okay, well, here it is, we're mixing. Oh, well, here you carrying this person, you carrying that person. Okay, we're with this person. And one moment, we've had this conversation. I mean, I guess if we were looking at it, people will have these different conversations with people who are in the white, Asian, mestizos, white people. For black people, I guess, like I said, if we were looking at those windows a little differently, then we would see that we are a colorful people. We're colorful people. And then yet you'll see where here it is, that contribution from other women are a part of that. The thing is, though, when we begin to look at certain things, it's like not so much that knowledge and conversation about poverty, or here it is, the struggle, as some people, the word that some people will use. But when we start talking about existence, what it means. I said that I have white children, I have beige children, I have a tan little girl. I ain't gonna fib you, I do. But I'm gonna reiterate what I said. That if we're going into that match team, or that skinny, or here it is, our light and all that kind of stuff, if you know, I ain't like that. I want to love me just like here it is. You think I should love you? I was at this place, and this gentleman, he just wanted to tell me. So I just want to put a little comment in there. I understand that maybe I be just looking, but you got me misunderstood. But the thing is that this woman said, I said, ooh, honey, I ain't gonna fib you, honey. I'm just the darkest woman in here. I think you got me misunderstood. But then another woman come, here it is me. My complexion, you know, all the little man. Oh, no. I said, boo, I ain't gonna fib you. I can't do that either. And the reason why is because maybe your approach about how we see ourselves on this universe may not align with, here it is, my mission, my goals, my purpose. You understand where I'm coming from? Is, you know, the thing is that for me to be in that pool, swimming around, sitting there saying, well, why I'm in here in this water? No, literally. Now, it's one thing to talk about you receiving money and gaining support, but it's another thing knowing that there's when we start looking at certain things, all that acceptance, if you wasn't willing to accept me. You understand where I'm coming from? It's like you loving me, you want me to not love me to love you. So why not love me and I can love you? You understand where I'm coming from? Like me, looking at me, Irene Ratliff. And then looking at, here it is, all the things that we could do collectively as a union. It wasn't disregarding, here it is, people that you will meet along the way that is relative to work. You know, when we start looking at any of those rights, laws, and all the other kind of stuff, affirmative action and so on and so forth, the thing is that we know that we go into an office filled with different colored people, maybe. You know what? Matter of fact, the complaints from early on was they thought it was all two white men. And then we had women who was conquering, okay, and going places. And unfortunately, that story wasn't the same for, here it is, the conversation about other men. When we begin to look at our economics and other things like that, so on and so forth, it really is just a breakdown. So early on in the tub, it was that story about, here it is, the little babies and the babies growing up. Well, men who considered themselves to be black, or women who considered themselves to be black, what was happening was, I was at this place. This man, he was with a mestizo woman. And what it was is that he was like, oh, well, the black people, this are the black, black. And I said, well, listen, your wife is listening to that. And what about your children? So if these men are with these people and they all in the black and they negatively talk about the black people, the blacks to their wife and to their family and to their children, then what do you think they think about black people when they grow up? Oh, this nigga don't want nothing. This black, this nigga black, this coon, this all negative. But then yet here it is readily again. Oh well, look, see, we trained him. And this, I said, baby, I ain't gonna feel you, honey. This is something incorrect. But my love and my licking just to be all like that, meaning that I have a problem with that. That means that yet you telling me that you want me to submit, and yes, I am submitting applications. But the submission is something different than here it is, my role, my position, and the things that I want to do, my success, where I want to go. That you look like this is dang old Holocaust. Let's explain. Here it is, the tree. Let's be frank and straight. Black people, we are Grandian people. Anybody want to sit there and say something about mixing this? Honey, we've have a lineage of people who've been mixing all day long. We could go all through the Caribbean. We could go here and there. And as I said, unfortunately, some of the news that we've heard about black people, and I don't know what color they were, but we know that here there's black people that suffered at the hands of, they say, one another, and black people have suffered in the hands of here there's other people. Now, when we start talking about here it is reproducing, here it is, those same black people, then they need to be in a healthy state to do that. No, it's just for real. Other than that, if you put in another woman or another man of another color, it does not reproduce. Here it is, the same people who have suffered. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So if we're looking at, two white people, they make white babies. One white person, they may make a very white baby, a beige baby, maybe a brown baby. Okay, no, it's just let's have the conversation. Okay, if we're looking at here, it is people who are brown. They're making brown children, or tan children, or light skinned children. You could turn on TV, you see them. I'm not sitting there saying that I don't support them, because the thing is I do. I watch TV, and I'm glad to see us in many different places. But I was looking at this TV program, and this woman, she was white. She wanted to just tell us about her hair. I even had to write the people and say, well, listen, if she have a problem with her hair, honey, it's just not our problem. We like our hair. Oh, well, here does my hair to get tangled against this. And they said, well, honey, this is the reason why we got choices about our hair. Are you understanding me? But I'm like, okay, if these people who are with these other people, then they grow up, then now they got the understanding. And I was watching TV, honey. And this man, he was like, but I was like, honey, black people speak Spanish. But he was like, and then you understand, when we're black. You understand? We're black. I said, well, yeah, I'm looking at you. I understand. Meaning that if you look at, here it is, the stories. Just pull it up for yourself. The stories about Dominican Republic and Haiti, that's a good example of all that brown. And yeah, I'm brown, I'm black, I'm brown. Matter of fact, growing up here, we've seen, here it is, a color change even from the Mexicans or people who come from Central America. We know them as being dark people, but over a period of years and time, when I come back home, I was like, wow, these people were very, very white. Now you have people say, well, listen, these people are mixed in, they believe in all of that, but they're brown or they're beige. You understand that the culture and the stuff is something different. I don't even want to use culture because, hey, I'm a Mexican. Hey, I'm West Indian. Hey, I'm Central American. Hey, I'm South American. You understand? So now when we begin to look, it's just like, okay, well, now here somebody who want to say, well, I want to identify with, here it is, that woman. I'm beautiful, but the other beautiful woman. Then at that point, it changes the representation of who we are. I'm like, honey, we got some beautiful black women. What is that investment for him? What is that investment for a black man to invest in with a black woman? Well, you could just look at King and Hustle magazine, honey. You see us all day long in those books, don't you? Didn't you see me? Do you understand what I'm saying? But then if we have somebody who is just negatively, and this is the thing, what was going on in the 60s, the 50s and 60s, we've had black people long time. We had white people who were doing all kinds of stuff. That's another little program or conversation to talk about. Here it is, those various movements in detail. But we not only had the African movement, but we also had the interracial movement. We had the integration movement. We had the religion movement. There was a lot of little movements going on. Okay, people were changing their names. We had a lot of people who were mixed, who were Well, I'll use the word mixed because I'm saying mestizos and I'm talking about mestizos in Latin America. We're Aztecs too, and they're Aztecs, and then they Mayans and we're Mayans too, but I'm not going to go there. But what was going on, and I ain't going to fib to you, honey. I guess we could go and look thoroughly, and here it is. A lot of the details of what may be spelled out as a can. I'm like, matter of fact, all this time while we sitting here talking about here it is, those ports. I was like, you mean tell me that here it is, there's black people that are looking and this is how they doing me, but then yet they want to sit there and say, well, we're doing this because the white man and this, that, and the other. Oh, here it is now. We wouldn't be like, oh, okay, this is mental. I said, well, hold up. I think that it's fucked up that how I've been treated over this period of time to sit there and say I should be without, and when I've been applying and won a whole lot, meaning that my goals and the things that I'm thinking of is genuine. It really comes from me. Meaning that those ideas to see us for real affluent and opulent as a people, as a culture, in many, many places. No different than how I may see, love, and like people of other colors. You understand? So let me reiterate. Reiterate when it was so else. We are gradient people, yes. Now when we start going into that all factor, honey, there's an all understanding that, honey, somewhere in there, those rules apply. And while we having such a gay time, we need to be aware that there's things that need to be in place that make sure it protect our liberation, our rights, and stuff like that. Because you'll be surprised at how many people who said their mama is white, their mama is Asian, their mama is mestizos, that here it is, they love for you is not the same. Matter of fact, they'll chuckle and laugh at you. And I just said that they come from here it is black people. And yet here it is, that point in fact. Are we reviewing those laws to make sure that here it is, IT and T is right? There's one thing to go back into the Voters' Right Act. And that voting, honey, has been long, honey. They in this stuff to sit there and say, well, we need to reevaluate or review. Here it is, our right to vote in this country, and yet here it is, our man. You have these people sitting there telling me, well, here it is what they've been doing. They ain't farming, they ain't doing this. What contribution this is, and this, that, and the other. I'm like, well, honey, whoop. Well, I'm trying to whoop. And what is the problem? Everything seems so at the beginning, and it does. It really, really do. But then as I'm sitting there talking about the things that I want to do to help feed my family or even be a part of my community, somebody else want to say they want to beat me to it. Now, while you sitting there running for real, as they say, running the race, where's your helping hand to help me pull up? Get up. Come up. And whether that's come up from down, come up from up, come up from the side, however it goes. The thing is, financially, you damn right. I want to have just like the next man. But I don't see it like that. Meaning that I'm not using, here it is, the resources or let's say the materials to say that I have it going on that way. Matter of fact, I don't even want to cry, but I do. But I'm not going to do it on this little TV show right now. No, but for real though. So let's be frank and straight, and it's just real. The thing is that when people, and I've seen, oh, look, I'm light-skinned, look at me, I'm looking, oh, and oh, well, they can see them. I'm in the dark. Oh, when they put on their makeup and this, that, and the other. Oh, her body looks good. Or this. And it's just like, well, how all these black people caring for their black people? Oh, well, they go up and down, up and down, up and down. And I'm like, well, one moment. We shouldn't even have to go through all of that. Oh, we want to see what here it is. If you're really with these people, or if you're really with these people, do you want to be in the mixed race, or you want to be in that one? And these are different pools, okay? Now, you can't drink no pool water, but the thing is that I'm just saying we swimming, we're fishing, okay? And I'm like, well, honey, I'm with all of them. Matter of fact, I kind of laughed a little bit, and it's not funny, but we do have an organization called Rainbow Push Coalition, a Rainbow Coalition Push. And that's Jesse Jackson's thing. And I'm like, well, I wonder how they are utilizing that rainbow, because they have a lot of opportunity to do a whole lot of grand things. So for people who are like, oh, okay, well, listen, we want to be a part. And I'm like, well, listen, I ain't going to fib to you, honey. Well, all that diversity and inclusion from any of those corporations, our conversation would be straight and frank. Oh, well, the funding and the this and the that. And I said, well, that would be the point, that here it is as an organization or a business. That would be the point. That would be the point. Oh, well, here it is with the black people and the white people and the integration and the brown people, the mestizos, and it is and it that. We all are part of that factor. When they want to say, oh, that meant all and that mental and that tall me, and I was like, I understand where you're coming from. You know what I mean? But like I said, when we begin to look at, and this is also another thing, trying to explain gentrification. If we're looking at gentrification, you used to hear people say, well, listen, our communities change and this, that, and the other. When I was reading on some of that real estate material, I was somewhat surprised that, hey, there's just a movement sometimes in that redlining and that steering and all the other kind of stuff. And I was just like, okay, but for people who may have lived in one house for a period of time, if a black man or a black woman be with someone of a lighter complexion, the baby is going to be, their children's going to be light. Okay, so if there's a white people and then their babies, that generation, they'll grow up, they're brown. So this is how the gentrification and the conversation of gentrification. Matter of fact, I was at this place, and there's always been a black and a white community. And honey, don't get it misunderstood, honey. Don't white girls, no black men, vice versa. You probably see more black men than you probably see black women. But it was, that thought that yet there's a generation of children who's going to grow up mixed. So now if they acquire their wealth, or if they already have their wealth, their children is going to receive that. So that's gentrification. If you're looking at people who may live in a community and over a period of years, whoever it is, the thing is that it just changes. If you're not having sex with, or you're having the reproduction of your child owning your inheritance or owning your parents' inheritance, those are the reason why things change in that conversation of gentrification. Oh, well, listen, I had this man. Okay, we over here someplace. Let's just pick a country. We could say, okay, well, we over here in, okay. Let's say, okay, we over here and we and you go, no. Okay, let's pick someplace else different. But, okay, let's say we over here in, what is the name of that country? Oh, gosh. The thing is, I just want to kind of be picky and choosy of which country I'm talking about. Okay, Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan. If all the men in Kyrgyzstan is dark-skinned, brown men, you understand where I'm coming from? And they were all nothing but white women. And the white women go and they come back, and the children come back, and they say their father seated them. Then you already know that here it is, the gentrification process is going to take place. That means that them father being dark-skinned brown people, that when their children grows up, whether those women stayed there or live with them when they raise their children there, or their children are going back looking for their family tree or researching, then they all come back white. They're just white. So you understand where I'm coming from? So when we start looking at different things that are relative to why certain things take place, but what I said earlier, that shit is for real. Now, if you want to sit there and tell me about how you want to do this or do that with all them black people, and then you want to say, well, we want to replace all them with brown people, then you're not going to get black people. Even brown people who are brown, I mean, literally, we got brown people. They would need to be with someone who is dark-skinned to make a dark-skinned baby. And yet we see people that go forward. We see a lot of white or light-skinned women, and they want to be with dark men. But what happens is it changes the way how we see, here it is, our family structure. White woman, black men. It's not two black people that we see. So I'm going to tell you a story, okay? I was with a black man, a man my complexion, and we had sex. Yes. No, it wasn't like that. But the thing was is that somewhere in there they wanted to sit there and tell me all about all this other different stuff. Oh well, here it is. We want to go through your sex lineage and all that other kind of thing. And I was just kind of like, well, you know what? I thought it was a little messed up, considering here it is all the things that I wanted to have a conversation about. To say all these white people, brown people, beige people had something to say about the movement, or here it is the relationship about us two black people. I ain't gonna fib to you, honey. I didn't want that noise. Matter of fact, I think it had interfered because the thing was is that if we didn't have that much, that somewhere in there the other people were willing to listen to hear it is that noise, to think that that would be our advancement. It being our advancement, then you wouldn't have weighed me out or weighed it down to sit there and tell me about all these white women that my man sexed up, and then yet now we're going through all this mestizo ball. Now, if you already know that maybe he was helping seeding because they wanted to help have black babies or whatever, then you shouldn't have put that on my plate or here it is on the table as if that was more important than a union with me and that black man. Now, you're right. I don't know all the details, but if you wanted it to be like it was just out of out of text, and yet I was complimenting, saying I thought that here it is, the person was somewhat bright, and then there was a will to do a good thing, to sit there and say that our lineage of Ariel, I just thought it was kind of messed up. So now they want to sit there and tell me about the mixed man and the brown man and all this other kind of stuff. And here it is, there are people there. And I just said, well, that's a whole lot of power. Or here it is, thought about the land itself, to sit there and want me to just think that it was just all white people. We really do have black people in Europe. You understand where I'm coming from? And then the thing was is that to be like, oh, okay, well, we had experienced this, to have them same people sitting there like they had a battle or war. And I was like, well, you know what? We had those conversations about slavery. Now, slavery in itself can be a group of people who have decided that they just want to adopt something. And then yet you have a complaint about being adopted and being abused. You don't want that. Who you going to talk to? Who you going to tell that to? And then yet here it is, those same people who want to say that they are linked or attached to here it is my movement, to sit there and thumb me down. I have a problem with that. How the hell would that have been here it is my support? It's just the truth. So they went to say, well, listen, this one and this one. I ain't have no problem with that. Matter of fact, I think that I had a couple of light-skinned friends and a couple of brown ones, a few white ones, and stuff like that. But what was this have to do with here it is Irene Ratliff today? I haven't sexed up anybody, but when I did sex up somebody, you could have made it a magical story without sitting there telling me how you was able to occupy my man's mind with here it is women. And these women, don't get it misunderstood, these women know that process. You understand where I'm coming from? I just told you that somewhere in there they wanted me. I said, I ain't gonna flip to you, baby. I know what you mean. But you got me misunderstood. Oh, well, here it is. We talk about. I'm like, well, honey, you know what? You're right. If you want to sit there talking about extended family. When a man take on a union with his wife, it be just that. Oh, well, here it is. Oh, well, look, they have on this particular, they have it, look, there's a lineage, but this one look like it's white. This one look like it's beige. This one look like it's tan. This one look like it's brown, and this one is black. And I said, well, listen, don't get me misunderstood. Outside of you telling me how all those features look like they look, the thing is that somewhere in there we would have saw an empowerment that was there. Outside of somebody sitting there telling me how they wanted to kind of just circulate and mistreat people and be like, okay, well, listen, this is our poor and this is our rich. And I said, well, one moment, honey, we do have rich black people. So if we were looking at one story to another, you're right. It's just a process to help raise government. It's a process to even support our government, our feudal government. You know what I mean? That means that people have to know really the well goodness of being able to operate that and to make that function. So I'm like, well, okay, we have all that support, and yet somebody else who want to tell me about here it is our rights and the right and the right. And then want me to have a conversation about here it is all that black and white. or here it is. I was like, that's a whole lot of conversation to give, to be sitting there talking about how these stories of the African slave trade or any of those, and picking cotton and all that other kind of stuff. And I'm saying, don't get me misunderstood. I think that there were people who were doing a lot of grand things yesteryears. Matter of fact, oh well, yes, well, I'm on, white people. And so here it is on that story of life. So he come out and said, I'm not baby daddy. Oh, good Lord. And yet here it is. We've had conversations about stories that I have read and stuff like that. And when people say, well, here it is. So how did a little baby come out? That baby come out looking like me? And we had the stories about, here it is, looking at the nail bed, looking at the ears, looking at the toes and stuff like that, looking at the nipples. The point that I'm making to you is that it's not for us to exclude, here it is, our seedlings. I'm not disputing that. The thing is, though, is that whenever these people are trying to sit there and say, well, listen, these people here are whoop, 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 and it's like we understand that. Now that would means that I would really support people who are in that genre, and we do have men and women who are part of a mixed family, to build in those areas. And no, I don't want to say instead or anything like that, because that's about what I was about to use. But whenever we're looking at some of those resources and names and stuff like that, like we have a lot of names, meaning we are European, we're African, we're Asian, we're Indian, we're Latinos, we're West Indian. Well, West Indian, as I said, honey, we just knew it was, black. Now they want to sit there and call all the sand and be like, okay, they looking like, mestizos, not mixed. Do you understand? I went kind of, because I was like, okay, for people to understand that ball. And another thing, during that time of integration, or during those movements, they wanted to use Martin Luther King's theme to support, here it is, I don't want to say interracial relationships. However, we saw the story with Martin Luther King, his mom, and then yet here's his relationship with Coretta Scott King. Well, we did see that in the black and white, or a brown and white, and then here it is, black. You understand where I'm coming from? If somebody want to sit there and say, well, listen, we're trying to be able to support all these various markets and people and stuff like that, and then I'm like, well, here it is, we are black. Matter of fact, we didn't have no problem talking to white people, brown people, like how they trying to complicate it. And it's complicated. Let it not be complex. My complexion. Now we're talking about appearance. But what was going on during the Martin Luther King era, there was a lot of stuff going on through his message. But the thing is that during that little integrationist movement, you have people saying, well, listen, my mama's white, my daddy's white, my mama's mestizo, they're Mexicans, or my daddy, or this. What it was for the conversation about black people, we were not really benefiting from that. Because now here it is, our children had come up, like I said, our children had come up, and then yet here it is, it was just a reference to, here it is, the black people, like that. You understand? So now people were using Africa, and I'm going to let you know right now, there's a lot of mixing going on in Africa. And as I said, stories coming out some of those countries, when those people are not there, how are we going to replace them people? Don't get me misunderstood. You can replace man with here it is, other man, but they're not the same people. You understand where I'm coming from? Like I said, two black people can make a white baby. A black person, a white baby. They don't necessarily have to make no brown or tan baby. Those children come out white. I don't care how many of those black men be with, here it is, light-skinned woman. They already know and have that understanding that the child is not going to be his same complexion. It doesn't speak for everybody, but it's just the majority. You understand? So now when we begin to look at, those things that way, and to have, let's say, those same people speak negatively about black people, and yet they found their freedom or their love someplace else, and then them needing to care for their children, then your thought and your disregard or your regards or whatever may not be with me. And that becomes a complex problem. Well, my daddy is black, and I just said, when you think about a lot of those people who actually are producers and stuff, who are in the media world, and they know that they are part of a mixed family, then he may not see, or she may not see me the way that see the story outside of, they are right. Who right? What right you talking about? The same thing, and don't get me misunderstood, honey. We've been going, apparently, listening to some of this stuff. It's been going on for some time. Like, we've had somebody else own that manner doing these things to us as if we should have some understanding about that. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. The thing is, as I said before, we do make, we do produce, we do have all kinds of people. The thing is, it's not a substitute, or not here it is, yeah, the substitute. It's not a substitute. Life is not a substitute. Well, you can substitute a lot of different things, but it's the thought and the memories of one thing or the other. Matter of fact, people find attraction and care so much about their pet. Matter of fact, I saw a gentleman earlier, and he had a little guinea pig. He was like, well, he's hugging it and loving it and everything like that. The thing is could he replace the guinea pig? Well, yeah. It may not be the same guinea pig when he get another one, but it's the guinea pig. But when you start looking at human factor, that's a whole nother story. But the thing is, with human factor, people could talk back. And the dog may bark, but people do talk. Oh, I want to say something else, but peace out, people. I'll come back to this. Or make another comment about it. You get some people and be like, oh, here it is, the African. They're mixing up all up in Europe. I mean, no, I don't want to be calling out any countries, okay? People are mixing, okay? But then while they're mixing, and yet here it is, that conversation of looking at one thing more better or bitter than the other. It poses a concern, a conversation, even for the feudal systems who want to use racism and colorism to say, well, where we're going and growing and how this thing's ending us or in. Again, I will make these comments a little later. Like I said, the relationship of the union with black people, the union with me being a black person, and then those things that took place to sit there and want to take on an argument or pose a point about here our children, us being gradient people, us being able to make and produce dark-skinned children, brown children, beige children, tan children, white children. It was just like, okay, that point, knowing that black people make black people. Black people help make all kinds of other people too. Because I want to make sure that I use that word make, because make and produce and all that kind of stuff, that all sounds positive. The thing is, though, we can have a person who is white, whatever sex there is, and they can contribute to society, and then that contribution, or to say, well, they're giving back, to say, okay, well, their mom or their dad is white and they made and have sex with, here it is, somebody who is black. But it may not be as dark as, here it is, the woman or the man that they married, or the person that they had sex with, to produce, here it is, a black baby or a brown baby. The all factor to talk about, here it is, our well-being has become universal. It's just really, to tell you the truth, people's heights and how they think about their work and the things that they want to do. You understand where I'm coming from? Now that becomes a collective understanding about where we're going and what we're doing and how we want to achieve those things. Okay? So that's the thing about dark-skinned people. Say, here it is, the dark-skinned woman, the woman there, me. And then our role and our position in society. And what that mean when somebody is looking at me and knowing that universally that thought is that any man, it could be with a black man, a brown man, a tan man, a white man. Right? And then yet here it is, the reproduction. Well, right there we already know we're very colorful people. We're colorful people. Okay, so for the human network, peace up. But yet here it is. This is food for thought. It's just things that make you go, hmm. Thank you, Irene Ratliff. Racism, colorism.